In Lesson 6, The Magic of Photography, we discussed the 35mm camera as the optimum format for cost, quality, and availability. We talked about composition, lighting, and exposure, and how they each affect the making of a good photograph.
I'm sure you cannot imagine life without photography. What if none of your books or newspapers or magazines had any pictures in them? In my day, we had pictures in our newspapers and books, but it wasn't easy. I have spent many hours engraving a wood block or a metal plate so an issue of the Pennsylvania Gazette could have a cartoon or a picture on the front page. Of course, it was just a rendering of the event and not a photographic record of the event itself. And because the engraving took so long, we never had many pictures. Even in the early days, well, this sort of equipment was difficult to operate and get good pictures. But in your day, it's difficult to conceive of a news article without a picture. As you do your work as a communication leader, you'll find that an article submitted to a newspaper is more likely to be considered if it's accompanied by a good photograph. But that's the trick, to have a good photograph.
Using radio and television was the subject of Lesson 7. We looked at the various types of stations and networks and the opportunities for local church communicators to use the broadcast media, from free calendar announcements to utilizing general conference-produced programming, to setting up a full-scale production studio for broadcasting your church service.
With all this all around you all the time, well, I don't think you fully appreciate the tremendous power you possess because of the sophisticated technology which you can have in your own home. Now, I know you feel it is a mixed blessing because so much of the programming is mediocre or downright harmful. But think of the tremendous miracles which modern technology has brought about. Now, surely they can be powerful tools in the work of God on earth. Pretty bewildering when you see it all at once, isn't it? So now we need to try to make some sense of it all. As you have seen, no one can tell you exactly what you should do in your church. Your congregation's goals and resources will help you chart your course. But no matter where you are, it's a good idea to have a communication committee, even if it's only made up of the communication leader and a photographer. 2 heads are better than 1, a wise man once said. Look for people who are bright and aware of trends and current events. People who have creative skills, people who know how to brainstorm and work in a group. And remember, being a member of the communication committee is not an honorary position. And then, if your congregation has not already done it, ask the church board to write a mission statement. The communication leader is a member automatically of the church board, and, well, you should be able to work with the board on this most important project.
To write a mission statement, you must first establish goals. Ask yourself the questions: who, what, where, when, why, and how. Who do you want to reach or serve? What do you want to tell them or do for them? Where do these people live, and where can you best offer them your services? When do you want to implement these plans? Why are you trying to reach these people, and how do you want them to respond? How will you go about implementing these plans? Finally, you must also ask the question, how much? Can you afford to do what you would like to do? Or will you need to raise additional funds or cut back on your goals in order to accomplish them? These are simple questions, but the answers may be difficult to form. Too many times, churches are accustomed to thinking that their goal is to win the world, yet they aren't doing a good job of serving their next-door neighbor. Writing a mission statement will force your church to do the hard work of deciding exactly who it wants to reach and what programs it can best use to reach them. The mission statement should be short and to the point. One short paragraph is all that's needed to answer the questions clearly. Every congregation has limited talents and resources. Your congregation can't use every outreach tool the denomination produces. Choose those which will help you reach your goals. Every congregation has its own character and personality. Learn to use your church's peculiar characteristics to help you reach people of similar backgrounds and interests. When your church has written its mission statement, you will have a better idea of who your target audience is and what you want to tell them about yourself. How can you tell your message to your target audience so that it sounds good to their ear? A primary rule in advertising is to appeal to a person's native desires. If a person sees that what is offered in an ad will solve his problem or fulfill his needs, he will be more likely to respond. This is really no different than what Jesus did when he first gave bread, then spiritual food. Another basic rule of advertising is to only attempt to convey one idea at a time. A common mistake is to try to tell everything in one ad or one brochure. After all, advertising is expensive. But to be effective, it needs to be direct and clear. Writing a mission statement will also help you to select the right media for publicizing your church. For instance, if your church is targeting mature members of the community, you would not want to buy spots on a rock and roll radio station. Once you have organized your communication committee and established your mission statement, survey your community's media outlets. Learn all you can about the newspapers in your area. Look in the yellow pages for a complete listing, or go to the library and ask for Standard Rates and Data's book on newspapers. It will tell you everything you could hope to know about the newspapers in your area. Get copies of the big city dailies as well as the county weeklies and the suburban papers. Study how they treat news from your part of the city or county. Look for news from churches. Does it usually appear in a specific section or on a specific day of the week? Does your city have a magazine, either as part of the Sunday edition of the newspaper or as an independent publication? What kinds of subjects are they especially interested in? Do they run mostly features? Does your church do something that would fit with what their readers are used to seeing? Then look at the broadcast stations. You may be surprised at how many there are. Again, look in the yellow pages or check at the library for Broadcasting Magazine's yearbook. It will tell you the format of each radio station, helping you to know a great deal about who their listeners are. It will also tell you whether the television stations in your area are affiliated with a network or whether they are independents. It will also tell you how many people in your community are cable TV subscribers. Depending on your needs, you might also explore billboards or direct mail or any other media available in your area. Once you know what the media climate is in your community, design a strategy which will utilize the media to best advantage, considering your target audience, the specific message you want to convey, and, of course, your budget. Try to accomplish the most with the least. If your target audience lives mostly in one area, like a suburb where your church is located, try putting your news or advertising in a suburban newspaper rather than the metropolitan daily. Or utilize cable TV, which may reach a small segment of your city, rather than an over-the-air station covering hundreds of square miles. This is especially wise if you place paid advertising. You'll save a lot of money. With your community plan in place, it's time to turn your attention to relations with a larger family of Seventh-day Adventist churches. Contact your conference communication director for full information concerning submissions to the conference newsletter, the union paper, and the Adventist Review. Plan your priorities and schedule of news reporting with the deadlines of these publications in mind. Then take a look at your congregation's internal communication needs. Are missing members getting regular correspondence from the church? Does your church need a full-fledged newsletter, or will an occasional informal letter do? Do you have bulletin boards which could be used to better advantage? Does your church need a phone committee? Now you are ready to sit down with your communication committee. You have the tools to work with, the mission statement, information about your target audience, the church calendar, and knowledge of the media outlets available to you. This information will be your guide as you schedule news releases to both community and church news outlets, as well as keeping your congregation informed. When your committee meets, you can assign duties to the appropriate members. This committee may also plan and execute special awareness events, like an open house or a visitor's day, and find ways for your church to participate visibly in community events, like parades and drives. It's often better to join in something the community is doing than to try to do your own thing in competition with community projects. And it's a lot less work. Establish production schedules for projects like the church newsletter and bulletin boards, and deadlines for union paper copy to go to the conference. Also, be sure that the church's building and grounds and the signs which direct people to your church are in good repair and speak well of the church.